We're back with John Mackay, the creation guy. He's the founder of Creation Research and the Aussie Creation Museum Jurassic Ark. Our talkback line is open on 1-800-316-316. Hey, John, if we're talking about this, come back to Genesis for a few moments here. Genesis chapter 4, verses 11 through 16, there's some reference there to a curse on Cain and the mark of Cain. Not everybody seems to be on the same page with this, and perhaps there's some grey areas, but you know, as a discussion here about, and you've already described some places where where we can understand the emergence of black skin and light skin. Thoughts here on the curse on Cain?
Okay, one common misconception. Are we talking here about Cain in the Garden of Eden, just outside the Garden of Eden, or are we talking about Canaan as the one who's cursed with Ham? Now, the Canaan who's cursed in Ham's day, grandson of Noah, is a different one than the one we're talking about now, which is Adam and Eve's son. You know, they had Cain and Abel, and the famous sort of question is, you know, if Cain killed Abel, who did he marry? All those sort of things. Now, the curse on Cain, there's no reference to skin colour at all. If you really want to know what the curse is, God spells it out for you. It's in black and white in Genesis. It tells you from now on he'll be a wanderer. He can't settle down. He won't build cities, right? He won't be able to plant vegetables. They won't yield. They won't come up, right? He could buy the best seed to get the most fancy fertilizer, and God had put a curse on Cain. He'd have to be a hunter. From then on, had to go and find his food, trade for food, but he couldn't be someone who could just use the ground bountifully to yield its seed to you. So there's no actual curse related to colour. And if you want to think it through, even if you say there's the possibility of that, think carefully as to what happened to Cain and his descendants. The whole purpose of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers is to trace the family history of Jesus Christ. Now, as should be obvious, Cain, who rebels early against the God, he killed his brother, he then denies it, and God says, no, I know where I can see his blood on the ground, I know you did it, right? And Cain is then not repentant, he turns away from God, and God curses him and makes the ground not yield to him, but he's not in the family tree of Jesus Christ. So when Noah's flood came, none of Cain's descendants, no matter what colour they were by that time, none of Cain's descendants got onto the ark at all. So they'd have no genetic influence on our modern people whatsoever. Now, as far as I can see, despite it being a popular suggestion that Cain was cursed by being back, this was his mark. Now, his mark was, Cain, can I buy some vegetables off you? No, don't do vegetables, right? You couldn't have done anything like this. Was in a world where everybody was still vegetarian and where everybody could trade and grow plants. Cain couldn't do it, right? So he had to do some other income. He was marked, he was set aside very visibly.